Hey guys, so it's week 5 and I'm going to be creating a video going over a few things in Illustrator. I know I have a couple students in the class that really are unfamiliar with the software, so that's kind of why I'm doing this. So a good way to start your design in the Red Ants Pants, for the Red Ants Pants poster, is to kind of find some reference images. Online is a great way to search for those reference images that you can work from in Illustrator. So there's some good stock photography websites. So Unsplash is one of them that I like quite a bit. Unsplash.com. They have a lot of free high resolution images that you can use that are free to download. There's also Pexels.com. This is how you spell it. This is another free stock photography or images. I don't think it's all photography. There's some videos and different kinds of media in here. But it's all, most of it's free anyway. Free Pics, I believe, is another one. This is it here, freepic.com. Barry told me about this one. This one's nice. They have vectors, which is... This is actually, these are Illustrator compatible if they're vector, because that's what Illustrator's in. It's not pixel based, it's vector based, which means it has little anchor points in all of the shapes and everything in there. So, and they have photos and PSD files too. So PSD is the native file out of Photoshop. So yeah. These 3 sites I highly recommend. I'm just going to look for hay bale just to kind of show you how the process goes. This is Unsplash. So they're trying to show me stuff from iStock, which I know is not free, but I know anything on here. Unsplash, results for hay bale on Unsplash. This should be free. So if I click on that, I can download it for free, and it goes right into my downloads folder. So now I have that in my downloads folder. Maybe I want to use this as a reference for my file. So that's kind of how you would do that. It's going to be similar for these other sites as well. This is Pexels. So it's trying to show me stuff on, but you can download the original size on this. Free download, or large. I wouldn't go too much smaller than large or original. That's the thing about Pexels, is it gives you an option to do different sizes, unlike Unsplash. But anyway, that's a quick rundown on kind of how to use stock photography websites, and 3 of the ones that I like to use anyway. So Google Images also works as well. So if you see anything in there that's not super pixelated, definitely download that. So if you go into Brightspace and you go to week 5, we can actually download these 2 files. If you click on this little arrow, push download. This is a thumbnail that I brought in using Photo Booth. You can also take a picture with your phone of your thumbnail to bring it in to your Illustrator document. I'm going to download this other file too, which is an ant. Okay, that worked. Should automatically open up on a Mac anyway. So here's an ant that I liked. So what we can do next is we can open our thumbnail in Photoshop. So sometimes we use Photoshop for different things, just to support our work in Illustrator. So if I go to download, I can open my Red Ants Pants thumbnail that I downloaded from Brightspace. I want you to go ahead and do this with me. And we're going to use the crop tool in Photoshop. I'm in window, I believe I'm in, let's see here. Since I'm on the crop tool, we can't tell, but I want to make sure you're in the same workspace as I am too. But our canvas is roughly a square, so I'm just going to roughly crop this as best I can, because it's kind of a sloppy photo, but at least I get the idea. I'm in Essentials, so if you go to Window Workspace, just make sure you're in Essentials. My window is really large, so I'll try and shrink it down a little bit so it fits better. And I have my toolbar kind of expanded too. So so here you can see we have this. So if we go to image mode, we can put this in grayscale, which makes it black and white. And then if we command L, as in lever, we can kind of take this white slider on the top slider. There's another slider down here, but I want you to work with the one located here. And we just want to bring those whites into more of a white, and we can bring the blacks and make those a little darker. And the midtones, we can bring those over to the left to kind of get rid of them. If I bring them this way, you can see, you can experiment with these sliders, but you can see that it really muddies it up. So definitely want to bring that closer to the left, or further to the left, and bring the blacks in a little bit. Okay, so this is my quick thumbnail that I did. I don't think it's a good composition at all, but it is a thumbnail nonetheless that we can work with for this demo. So we can do, after the levels and push return on the crop tool, you can see that we've kind of cropped our image, and we've done the levels, we've made it grayscale. So let's do a file, save as, and we can put this in our documents, and we can make a new folder. Actually, let's find our class folder, which is illustration 2. So if you don't have an illustration 2 folder in your documents folder, go ahead and make one. And then we can do new folder. And let's name our project folder demo. Something like that. Or maybe like Red Ants Demo. Let's make it Red Ants Demo. And you can put spaces in folder names, so go ahead and do that. And now we're inside of the Red Ants Demo folder, and I'm going to save my Red Ants poster thumbnail.jpg as a JPEG here. And it always asks us this, just push OK. Usually, I don't even know why they do that. I was experimenting. I have a lot of files open here, but I'm going to get out of Photoshop now after I've saved that thumbnail. And let's open up Illustrator. Another thing you can use Photoshop for too is if you have images that you like, but you want to remove the background and just work with a subject or a certain element within that image. Like say, I really liked this hay bale, but I didn't really like the background. I can always bring this into Photoshop and use the clipping tools to clip it out. And just use, and then save it out as a PNG file with a transparent background. And then I'm just working with just the hay bale. But for the sake of trying to be a little speedy, I think I might skip that process. If you guys need help clipping in Photoshop at any point, just let me know and I can help you out with that. Okay, so let's go into Illustrator. Okay, so let's go to File, New, or you can just do New File here. Click on that. Let's just go to Print, because we are going to be printing these. We're designing them to be printed. The Red Ants Pants poster is obviously a print material. It's going to be printed on paper. So the size that we're wanting, we want to make sure that this is in inches over here. This is where we set our size. So we want to make it 10.5 by 10 inches. And we want it in CMYK color mode. This is for printers. RGB is for screens, but we're going to be printing this, so we want CMYK color. Those are the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black that 4-color printers use. We want the raster effects to be high. We want it to be 300, so that it doesn't get pixelated when we print it. 300 is the standard for print documents, so when you're designing print documents, always make sure the resolution or raster effects in Illustrator is set to 300. So go ahead and push Create. And here's our canvas. Before we do anything, let's do to Window, Workspace, Essentials Classic. If your Properties panel isn't open, you may have to open it by going to Window, Properties, and just make sure that that's open. I have mine open here, but it's an important panel to have open. So if your toolbar is small like this, I prefer to have mine this way, so if you want your screen to match mine, go ahead and expand your toolbar. So let's bring in our thumbnail. We can use layers. They're over here. That's got the fourth one from the bottom in this little menu here. Make sure you're in layer 1. So we'll do a file place, and we'll go to that thumbnail that we cropped. I believe I put it in my documents, in my illustration 2 folder, in my Red Ants demo. Okay, go ahead and place this in. So we can actually click and drag it in at the size that we want it to come in at. So just click, hold down, and drag it out. That's pretty close to what I was wanting at the size I want. And then what we can do is in the properties panel over here, we can turn the opacity down on this to, I don't know, 40-ish. And then we can lock this layer by clicking this little blank space next to the eyeball. If we, at any time we want to turn this layer off, we can. But let's go ahead and add another layer on top. So we'll have layer 2 on top. Make sure you're in layer 2 for this next step. Okay, so let's just say I'm wanting to create this, basically this chunk of land here. And maybe I decided to change my design a little bit, and I want this to look a little bit more uneven, so it's not such a straight line. So we'll bring in the rectangle tool. Got to make sure I'm on layer 2. Make sure layer 1 is locked. So grab the rectangle tool and let's just click and drag out a rectangle. So you can see the fill colors in the appearance panel over here. It's also over here. This is the stroke color. This is the color that is basically kind of like the outline around. If we add a stroke onto it, you can see that we can change the width here in the properties panel, but you can see that's the outline on the shape. And then this is the fill color. So this is the stroke color, this is the fill color. I don't really want a stroke color, so I can get rid of that. And maybe I want my fill color to be more of like a gold color. I can choose my colors from the color panel. I can also double click here and use the slider to find kind of a golden wheat color maybe. Okay, so maybe that's the kind of the base color that I want down first. And then we can click on this with our black arrow tool and click on drag it, draw inside. And when you draw inside, you can see that there's kind of a dashed line here. So we can use the eraser tool and we can erase parts of this to kind of make it look a little bit more rolling. We can also double click on the tool to change the size. So maybe I want it bigger or smaller. You can also change the roundness, the angle, those kinds of things. Sorry, gosh. So, you know, I can kind of drag this out and make it a little bit more of a rolling shape. Something like that, maybe. It's kind of hard to get it perfect, but you get the idea. You can draw inside to kind of make shapes slightly different. This isn't totally following my thumbnail that I have in here, but I'm just kind of trying to show you guys some simple things. And I am covering up my thumbnail, but I can always go into my layers panel, turn this off, like turn off this layer, and so that I can view the thumbnail underneath, and I can always turn this back on later. So using the layers panel with these toggling on and off the eyeballs is definitely a good idea. So we can actually, if we're clicked off of everything, we can actually edit the artboards over here in the properties panel, and we can actually add artboards here with the plus button. So here's a second artboard in our document, and on this document we can bring in other images that we want to work from. Say, you know, I want an ant in here, obviously, so in the next video I'll bring the ant in and I'll show you some drawing tools that you can use to work on your different elements that you're working on separately, and then eventually you can bring everything together on the original canvas that you set up with your thumbnail on it.